The cold wind howled across the empty surface of the mining moon. The sky was dark, with distant stars sparkling like tiny diamonds. No sun warmed this place. The air was thin and bitter, almost impossible to breathe. A small ship broke through the heavy clouds and landed roughly near the edge of a frozen crater. Inside the ship, the human rescue team was tense. They had received a weak distress signal from this remote moon. Something had gone wrong at the mining site. Ryan was the youngest member of the team. He was a skilled pilot and quick thinker. As the ship settled on the icy ground, he pulled on his thick spacesuit and double-checked his oxygen mask. Outside, the cold could freeze a person in minutes. The team stepped out carefully. Their boots crunched on the frozen ground. The mining camp was a mess. Pieces of metal and broken machines lay scattered everywhere. A cold silence hung in the air, broken only by the wind. Ryan's communicator beeped. "Signal coming from the shelter," the leader said. "It's faint, but it's alive." The group moved fast, following the signal. The shelter was half buried in snow and ice. It looked old, with cracks in the walls and the door hanging open. Inside, the air was even worse, cold, stale, and hard to breathe. Ryan's heart beat fast when he heard soft gasps. Someone was inside, struggling for air. He pushed aside a heavy metal beam blocking the entrance. There on the cold floor was a tiny figure curled up. It was small, much smaller than any human child. Her skin shimmered faintly with a pale blue glow, and her large eyes looked frightened. She was thin and weak, trembling from the cold. Her breaths were short and quick. She tried to lift her hand toward Ryan but could barely move. Ryan's training told him to be careful, but his heart told him to help. Without hesitation, he reached into his helmet and pulled off his oxygen mask. The cold air hit his face. He saw the alien girl struggling more with every breath. "Here," he said softly, holding the mask close to her lips. He gently placed it over her small face. At first, she gasped even more, confused by the strange human device. But soon her breathing slowed, and color returned to her cheeks. Ryan smiled, feeling relief wash over him. She looked at him with wide, shining eyes, full of fear and wonder. The rest of the team gathered around the entrance. They watched quietly. "Is she alive?" one asked. "She is," Ryan said. "But barely. She needs more air. We have to move." The leader nodded. "We bring her back to the ship. Then we'll decide what to do." Ryan carefully lifted the alien girl in his arms. She was lighter than he expected. Her small body was fragile, but her eyes never left his face. As they walked back through the icy wind, Ryan thought about what he had just done. He had given his oxygen mask to a stranger, an alien child, without a second thought. He didn't know where she came from. He didn't know if she was friend or foe. All he knew was that she needed help. Back on the ship, the medical team took the alien girl to the sickbay. They connected her to oxygen and warmth. She began to breathe easier, but her body was still weak. Ryan stayed by her side. He watched her chest rise and fall, thankful she was alive. The alien girl blinked slowly and whispered something soft. It was not a human word, but it sounded like a name. "Leary." Ryan smiled and repeated, "Leary?" She nodded faintly. The ship's captain entered the room. "We have a problem," he said. "The mining company wants a full report. They will want to take her away." Ryan looked at Leary's pale face. "She's just a child," he said quietly. "We can't leave her behind." The captain sighed. "We have to follow the rules. This is alien territory. We can't take risks." Ryan clenched his fists. "Then I'll stay. I'm not leaving. Her alone here." The captain studied Ryan for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. You stay with her." That night, Ryan sat beside the small cot where Leary rested. Outside, the storm raged. The cold was cruel, but inside the ship, there was warmth and hope. Leary's breathing grew steady. Her tiny fingers reached out and touched Ryan's hand. He smiled. "I'm here," he said. "You're safe now." Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. The rescue team was not alone on the moon. Ryan looked toward the window. In the dark ice fields, something moved. Something watching. Leary's eyes snapped open. She looked toward the shadow outside and gasped. Ryan grabbed his suit and helmet. "Get ready," he said to the team. "We don't know what's out there." Leary clung to Ryan as the door opened to the cold, dark night. The rescue was only beginning. The cold night outside the ship was dark and full of silent threats. The storm had passed, but the icy wind still howled through the barren landscape. The small rescue team moved carefully, their boots crunching on frozen rocks. Ryan held Leary close, keeping her warm in his arms. The tiny alien girl had not said a word since the alarms went off, but her large eyes watched everything with quiet alertness. Inside the ship's control room, the leader gathered the team. "We don't know what's out there, but something is watching us," he said. "Our priority is to repair the shuttle and leave before anything worse happens." Ryan nodded, but his mind was with Leary. She was small and fragile, but something about her seemed different, special. She did not look like a threat, yet the strange feeling in the air told him to trust her instincts. Back in the medical bay, Leary slowly opened her eyes. She looked around, confused by the strange machines and lights. She touched her face where the oxygen mask had been and then looked for Ryan. When she saw him, she gave a faint smile. Ryan sat beside her and spoke softly. "It's okay, Leary. You are safe." She did not answer, but her eyes shone with trust. She reached out her hand and Ryan took it gently. The warmth of his touch seemed to calm her even more. The rescue team started preparing the shuttle for takeoff. Parts had been damaged in the crash and time was running out. Ryan helped the engineers, but he kept checking on Leary. The alien girl was quiet, but she seemed to learn quickly. She watched the humans with curious eyes. When Ryan spoke, she tried to imitate the sounds, making soft noises that sometimes matched his words. One evening, Ryan sat with Leary near the ship's window. Outside, the cold moon stretched endlessly, silent and empty. He showed her simple drawings on a tablet, shapes of planets, stars, and spaceships. Leary's eyes brightened when she saw the images. She pointed to the stars and whispered her own strange words. Ryan guessed she was naming places in her own language. He smiled and repeated the sounds as best he could. Suddenly, Leary's face changed. She looked scared and held Ryan's hand tightly. From the dark outside, a shadow moved. Across the ice, a slow, silent figure. Ryan's heart pounded. "Stay close, Leary," he whispered. The team rushed to the ship's main door and looked outside. There was nothing but cold and empty space, yet the feeling of being watched remained. That night, while the others rested, Ryan stayed awake with Leary. She did not sleep. Instead, she whispered quietly in her alien tongue. Ryan listened carefully. Though he did not understand, he felt the deep sadness and fear in her voice. Leary looked up at him and pointed to her chest. "Home," she said, almost a question. Ryan thought about the broken shelter and the lonely moon. "We'll find a way to help you," he promised. Days passed, and the shuttle was almost ready. But the team faced a hard choice. The company's orders were clear. Any alien life forms must be quarantined and studied. Leary could be taken away, separated from Ryan. Ryan refused. "She's not a lab subject, she's alive like us. She needs help, not cages." Some members of the team agreed, but others worried about the risks. The unknown creature outside the camp was proof that this moon held dangers no one understood. One evening, Leary surprised Ryan. She pointed to a broken console and touched a glowing button. The screen lit up. She looked at Ryan, smiling shyly. Ryan's eyes widened. "You understand technology?" Leary nodded. "Learn," she said. Over the next hours, Leary watched Ryan repair the shuttle systems. She copied his movements and even helped him press buttons. Her small hands were quick and careful. The bond between them grew stronger. Ryan saw that Leary was not just a helpless child. She had skills, courage, and a will to survive. But the dark presence outside was not gone. One night, as Ryan and Leary checked the ship's engines, A sudden crash shook the floor. The shadow had returned. Leary gasped and pulled Ryan toward the safety of the control room. The team quickly armed themselves with tools and flares. The shadow moved fast, more than just an animal. It hissed and growled, eyes glowing red in the dark. Ryan stood firm, holding Leary close. "We can fight it," he said. "Together." Leary closed her eyes and let out a sharp cry. The sound was strange and powerful, unlike anything Ryan had heard before. The creature froze for a moment, stunned by the strange noise. Using the chance, the team lit flares and pushed the beast back. Ryan grabbed a damaged mining robot and turned it on. The robot's heavy arms swung, forcing the creature away. After minutes of tense battle, the creature retreated into the shadows, disappearing into the frozen night. Leary hugged Ryan tightly. "Safe," she whispered. Ryan smiled and kissed her forehead. "We're not alone, but we have each other." The team knew they had to leave soon. The moon was dangerous and the creature might come back, but Ryan and Leary were ready to face whatever came next. Together, the cold wind swept over the frozen moon again. The rescue team had worked hard to repair their shuttle, but the danger was far from over. Ryan and Leary stayed close together. The small alien girl had grown stronger, but the fear in her eyes never fully left. Each night the shadow moved nearer. It watched from the darkness beyond the camp, silent and unseen. The team felt it in their bones, a threat they could not ignore. One morning, as Ryan checked the power systems outside, he noticed that one of the team members, Harris, was missing. He called out, but there was no answer. The cold air swallowed his voice. Ryan's heart raced. He searched the icy ground, following faint footprints in the snow. The track stopped at a dark cave entrance near the edge of the camp. He carefully looked inside but saw nothing, just cold shadows and silence. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from deep within. Ryan stepped back, uneasy. He ran back to the camp and warned the others. "Harris is missing. I found footprints leading to the cave." The team gathered weapons and prepared to search. Leary stayed close to Ryan, holding his hand tightly. The cave was dark and cold, but inside it was warmer than outside. Strange shapes moved in the shadows. The team called out for Harris, but only silence answered. Suddenly, a large shape lunged from the darkness. The creature was massive, covered in dark fur, with sharp teeth and glowing red eyes. It growled loudly and attacked. The team fought hard, firing flares and using tools as weapons. Ryan held Leary behind him, protecting her from the danger. Leary's eyes filled with fear but also determination. She took a deep breath and let out a loud, sharp cry, just like before. The strange sound seemed to confuse the creature. The beast stepped back, growling in pain. It was not used to such a sound. Ryan saw an opening. Using a metal rod, he struck the creature and forced it to retreat. The team quickly ran out of the cave, closing the entrance behind them. Back at the camp, they checked on Harris. He was badly hurt but alive. The creature had taken him to the cave but had not killed him. Ryan looked at Leary with new respect. "You saved us," he said. "Your voice, it's like a weapon." Leary nodded quietly. "Protect," she whispered. The rescue team knew that the shadow was not just an animal. It was something intelligent, something that watched and waited. Ryan and Leary began to learn more about each other. She showed him strange symbols drawn in the snow. He tried to teach her words and gestures. Slowly, a language grew between them. A way to understand and trust. One day, Ryan asked, "Where is your home, Leary?" She pointed to the stars outside and said, "Far away." Ryan thought of Earth, of the people who might be searching for her. He wanted to help her return, but first they had to survive. The days passed and the team worked hard. The shuttle was almost ready to fly. But the danger grew closer. At night, the creature returned, sometimes with smaller shapes following it. Ryan and the others set traps and alarms. They guarded the camp with sharp eyes and steady hands. One night, as Ryan rested, Leary disappeared. He woke to find her gone. Panic filled his chest. He called out her name in the cold darkness. Then he heard a soft cry. Leary was near the cave entrance. He ran to her and saw her face pale with fear. The creature, "It waits," she said softly. Ryan held her close. "I won't let anything hurt you." Together, they planned to leave the moon before the creature could attack again. They packed their gear and prepared the shuttle, but as they approached the ship, the shadow appeared. The creature growled, blocking their path. Ryan stood, between Leary and the beast holding a flare. Leary stepped forward and let out her strange cry. This time the creature hesitated but did not run. It charged. Ryan fired the flare, lighting the cold night. The creature screamed and lunged at Leary. Ryan pushed her away, but the beast's claws caught her arm. Leary cried out in pain. Ryan grabbed a sharp piece of metal and struck the creature in the side. The beast howled and collapsed. Leary fell to the ground, weak and hurt. Ryan ran to her, tears in his eyes. "You're safe now," he said. "I won't leave you." He lifted her gently and carried her back to the shuttle. Inside, the team worked quickly to treat her wounds. Ryan held her hand tightly. Leary looked up and whispered, "Thank you." Ryan smiled. "You saved all of us." The creature was dead, but the memory of the night stayed with them. The moon was no longer safe, but Ryan and Leary had formed a bond stronger than fear. Together, they would face whatever came next. The cold inside the shuttle felt warmer than the outside world, but Ryan knew time was running out. Leary was injured, her small arm wrapped in a makeshift bandage. She lay on a cot, eyes closed, breathing slowly but unevenly. The wound was serious, but not life-threatening. At least that's what the medic said. Ryan never left her side. He sat close, holding her other hand, feeling the soft pulse of life in her tiny fingers. She looked so small and fragile, yet to him, she was the strongest person he had ever met. Leary opened her eyes and gave him a faint smile. Ryan smiled back, careful not to move too quickly and hurt her. "You're going to be okay," he whispered. Days passed, and the shuttle's systems slowly came back to life. The repairs were almost done, but the danger outside had not disappeared. The strange creature had been killed, but the cold moon was full of unknown threats. Ryan spent most of his time with Leary. He taught her simple words and phrases, and she showed him strange symbols from her home. They shared stories through drawings and gestures. One evening, while the rest of the team rested, Ryan went to check the power generator near the airlock. It was a dangerous job, but he was skilled and careful. As he worked, he felt a sudden chill run down his spine. Something was wrong. Suddenly, a shadow moved fast from the corner of his eye. Before he could react, a heavy blow knocked him to the ground. Pain exploded in his side, and he gasped for breath. Ryan tried to get up, but the attacker was strong. The creature he had thought was dead had returned, or maybe there was more than one. He struggled, but the cold and pain made it hard to fight back. "Ryan!" Leary's voice rang out suddenly, sharp and strong. The strange cry surprised the attacker. It hesitated. Leary ran toward Ryan, her small feet moving faster than anyone expected. She let out the loud, powerful cry again. The creature froze, growling, and backing away slowly. Ryan used the moment to stand and grab a metal pipe. He swung it with all his strength, striking the beast hard. The creature snarled and lunged again, but Leary was between them now. She stood tall, her eyes bright with courage. The beast reached for her, but she threw her arms out and let out a cry, so fierce it echoed in the cold air. The creature reeled, then collapsed with a final growl. Ryan rushed to Leary's side. She was breathing hard and trembling. "Are you okay?" he asked, fear gripping his voice. Leary nodded weakly. "Protect you," she whispered. Ryan smiled through his pain. "You saved me, again." He wrapped his arm gently around her and carried her back to the shuttle. Inside, the medics worked quickly to check Leary's injuries. The pain was strong, but her spirit was stronger. Ryan stayed with her through the night, holding her hand and whispering promises of safety. "Why do you fight so hard?" Ryan asked quietly. You could have run away. Leary looked up at him with shining eyes. Because you saved me first, she said simply. Ryan felt a warmth in his chest. He never expected such loyalty from a stranger, especially an alien. The team knew they had to leave the moon soon. The dangers were too great and help might not come in time. But Ryan refused to leave without Leary. She's my responsibility, he said firmly. I won't abandon her. The captain nodded, understanding the bond that had formed between them. As the shuttle prepared for launch, Ryan helped Leary into her seat. She smiled faintly, holding his hand tightly. The engines roared to life, shaking the shuttle. Outside, the frozen moon disappeared behind a cloud of ice and dust. Ryan looked at Leary and said, We're going home. Leary's eyes sparkled. Home? Ryan smiled. Yes, you're home. The stars stretched out before them, full of hope and new beginnings. The shuttle hummed softly as it soared through space, leaving the frozen moon far behind. Inside, Ryan sat beside Leary, watching her sleep. The small alien girl had grown stronger with every passing hour, but the journey ahead was still full of unknowns. At the space station, officials awaited their arrival. News of the rescue had spread quickly. The story of a human giving his oxygen mask to a tiny alien child had captured the hearts of many. As the shuttle docked, medical teams and officers gathered. They were curious, cautious, and full of questions. Ryan carried Leary carefully through the busy corridors. People stopped and stared, some in awe, some in disbelief. In the main hall, a crowd had gathered. Cameras flashed as reporters tried to catch a glimpse of the mysterious alien girl and the brave human who saved her. Ryan stood tall. She is not just an alien, he said firmly. She is a living being. She saved me as much as I saved her. She deserves respect, care, and kindness. Officials stepped forward, ready to take Leary for examination, but Ryan blocked their way. She is family now, he said quietly but with strength. You will not take her without my consent. The room grew silent. For the first time, many saw the human side of this story, the bond between two very different beings. Leary looked up at Ryan and smiled shyly. She reached out and touched his cheek, a simple gesture that spoke volumes. News channels broadcast the story across the galaxy. The video of Ryan removing his oxygen mask to save Leary went viral. People everywhere were moved by his courage and kindness. Messages of support poured in from different planets. Humans and aliens alike praised the human who showed true compassion. Ryan and Leary settled into a quiet room at the station. Scientists came to study her, but Ryan made sure they treated her gently. Leary learned new words every day. She laughed and played, slowly becoming more comfortable in this strange new world. Ryan told her stories about Earth, about green forests, blue oceans, and warm sunlight. One day, Leary asked, "Will I see my home again?" Ryan nodded. "We will find a way. For now, you are safe here." Months passed, and the bond between Ryan and Leary grew stronger. She became a symbol of hope, a reminder that kindness could cross even the greatest distances. At a special ceremony, Ryan was honored for his bravery. Leary stood beside him, proud and smiling. The galaxy began to see humans not just as warriors or explorers, but as beings capable of deep care and connection. Ryan looked at Leary and said, "You changed my life." She replied softly, "You saved mine." Together they showed the stars that sometimes a simple act of kindness can change everything.